Hi, I'm Sophie Robinson and I'm an interior stylist and designer, and earlier this week I put it out there on all my social media channels, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and said to you guys, I'm up for giving my advice for free. Send in your design dilemmas and I'll answer them in this YouTube video. So here I am, and I've just loved all the questions that you've sent in, loads of them about colour. No surprise. So I'm going to kick off with Florence and Evelyn, who posted on Instagram. And the question is, please help. I wanted to add some colour to our lounge and we wanted a more dramatic and cosy feel. Sick of beige? Yes. Have painted 2 of the walls. Began with just the sofa wall to create a backdrop to enhance the colourful cushions, but loved the colour and also wanted to bring it out in the fireplace. So today I painted that wall too. Now I really need to decide if I should paint a 3rd wall. Maybe it would be more cohesive, or all the walls, but don't want it to be too dark. Was going to do the other walls white. Any advice would be fab. Okay, I'm loving your approach to decorating. It's fantastic, this kind of paint one wall, live with it, paint the other wall. But you know what I'm gonna say, you gotta do the whole lot. I don't think having a white wall is gonna add anything at all. It just makes the room look really bitty and broken up, and you've really clearly got a lovely eye for colour. That's such a beautiful blue tone you've already chosen. It goes really lovely with the leather and the wood furniture that you've got in there. And you're worried about it being dark, but you've already done the right thing. You've got a beige carpet and a sort of off-white ceiling, so that's absolutely perfect. The other thing you could think about doing, which is a nice trick, is breaking up the dense, bold colour with a collection of mirrors or a collection of pictures that I've maybe got, you know, white frames or metallic frames, and all of that will help lighten the look. But looking from your photographs, even though these were taken at night, I don't think you have a problem with light, and I think that colour definitely on the 3rd wall would look brilliant. So go for it. That's an order. The next question, we've got Jamie Jane Warren, again on Instagram. Design dilemma. We have this country cottage living room, newly coated in white, very low ceilings. Ignore the wardrobe in the corner, and I need colour and design help. Oh, well, I'm totally up for helping with this one. The sort of country cottage look is something I absolutely love. Now I can see you've got some quite nice architectural details in here. There's a beautiful inglenook fireplace. So you want to make sure that's the focal point. But you've painted everything bright right, and you know, if you've been reading my blog, that's a total no-no. I think especially in a period property, it's too stark. Again, I think you might be worried about the light issue, but if you just go for any of these kind of off-whites, either the more stony colours or even some of these warm greys, you know, they work really, really nicely. Or if I was really going for a country cottage look, then I'd probably add some tongue and groove panelling. I mean, this is my go-to magazine if I'm doing anything country. It's beautiful, Country Living magazine. And you can see lots of kind of tongue and groove. The other thing is if you aren't massively into colour, then that's okay. You can use just lots of neutrals, but I think the thing with the country look is it's craftsmanship, it's handmade, it's lots of wood and wicker and woven and texture, so you've got to really go for that. If it was up for me, I'd probably do more of a Sarah Moore vintage look and just pile on the chintz and the pattern and the bramble hedgerow motifs and all of that kind of stuff and make it a real riot. So there's 2 ways you can go with that, but got to get rid of that white first. Okay, who else have we got on Instagram? This was an interesting question from A Mother's Style. This is my dining room, all open plan, sitting at the end of the kitchen, and basically wanted some help kind of integrating the space. So she sounds like she's got an open plan kitchen, dining, living space. And I noticed the kitchen units are painted grey, and then there's this quite orangey pine dining room furniture which isn't really going. So I think sometimes if you've got a painted kitchen, it's quite nice to have painted furniture. Even if you don't do the top, you could maybe strip the varnish off so it's not shiny and just oil it and paint the legs and paint the chairs, and that could be a way to add some colour to your room too. Looking at your picture as well, I think you could get some colour in the window treatment. You've just got like a plain blind, and windows are a great place to have a splash of colour, so maybe think about having a coloured fabric blind in the window. And I also think that light fitting is a little titchy hanging over the dining table, so a nice big light shade, You know, even if it's kind of like an industrial enameled style, but you could go for a pop of red or duck egg blue, or, you know, that lovely kind of 50s green. So get the colour in with the accessories. That's my tip for that one. And then to connect the 3 spaces, just make sure your living room, dining room and kitchen all has a similar colour palette. So if you're going for these kind of like muddy, chalky greys and greens, for example, you just want to carry them throughout the space and then it'll look cohesive. Finally, on Instagram, we've got Pinroll Luke. Hi Sophie, here is my small north-facing sitting room with dark wood floor, open fire. It's all sort of painted in these sort of Farrow Ball soft colours, but there's also some yellow in there, which is great, showing off the bits and bobs really, really nicely. But the problem is it's not feeling cosy. So I think, interestingly, you've chosen a good colour palette, like the yellows and the soft warm greys are perfect. But notice you've got curtains that don't touch the floor. That's a very naughty thing to do. You want to make sure if you're wanting a cosy, well-dressed look, get those curtains nice and thick, maybe even like a nice velvet or something like that, all the way to the floor. That will make the room feel more cosy. And just kind of like work up the texture again with your scatters and your throws. Think of wools and chenilles and velvets. All of those will help it feel more warm and cosy. And I can't quite see all the pictures on the wall, but they all look quite little. You might want just a really large painting or piece of artwork, which will help fill the space and stop it feeling too empty. So that's my tip for that one. Okay, let's have a look on Facebook. We had a few ideas here posted on Facebook. Really epic one here from Jane Bawtry, who sent me loads of pictures of her living room, which also doubles up as a study and a boys' gaming room. And she's inherited some rather fabulous orange, brown and gold curtains, but she's struggling to tie them in to the rest of the scheme. So I think this is interesting. If you've got one fabric which is really bold and really strong, say in your curtains, you can't not then carry on a little bit of that boldness or pattern anywhere else, otherwise they just sort of stand alone. So I can see here you've got lots of oak furniture, you've got a really nice old period fireplace, which could do with picking out. So there's lots of lovely warm textures, but I'd actually be really tempted in this room, especially since you've got some nice monochrome artwork, is just to sort of go for it and like, why not paint the walls like a really nice rich orange like this Charlotte's Lock from Farrow Ball. I think the room could really take it and it would balance with the really bold curtains well. Or just get some much bolder patterned artwork or cushions in there. So you're taking the colour all the way around the room, if you won't go for that colour on the walls, but I do think that would look fab. Okay, also on Facebook, we've got Faye Bridgewater. We have very dominant but lovely fireplace. At some point the previous owners have replaced the original tiles with small mosaic ones. I think it's oak. North facing room, beige sofas. So my question is, what colour would work best? Many thanks, I've been studying the Farrow Ball paint colour for 15 months. Oh my goodness, Faye, you seriously need help. What a beautiful fireplace, that is so gorgeous. And I think it'd be nice if that remains the focal point in the room. But the real question here is north-facing rooms, and I think lots of people struggle with these because they're dark and they don't get the same amount of light. And I think there's 2 ways you can go. My personal preference with a north-facing room, especially if it's a sitting room actually, would be just to go really dark and cosy with it, almost embrace the darkness, because the reality is, if you've got a room that doesn't have a lot of natural light, there's very little you can do about it. And if you go too pale, like bright white, for example, it just looks really stark and depressing. Because the light doesn't have a lot of warmth in it, you kind of need to add the warmth in the paint colour. So, I mean, I'd be really kind of tempted, if it were my house, to go for a really strong dark shade. Like I'd be down here looking at all of these sort of dark colours and just kind of really embracing the snugness rather than trying to go up here and making it feel lighter and brighter. If that's not your thing and you want to keep it light and airy, just make sure there's some warmth in the paint tone, okay? So for example, these that are on the yellow page, they have a lot of nice warmth. Some of these stony colours work really well because they've got a lot of warmth in them, the greys and the kind of stone colours. I would avoid anything that's going to make that room feel too chilly. So no sort of cold blues or cold greys. that would just be like freezing. So I hope that's given you some inspiration. You can go and commit to buying some paint finally. And the other thing is, it is only paint. If it doesn't work, you can paint it out. It's not such a big deal. Okay, over onto Twitter. We've had a nice tweet here from Heather Ann Craig saying, trying to change from cottage to mid-century. That is quite a big change. Also, curtains or no curtains. So I can see, Heather, you've already got a really lovely mid-century modern sideboard. It looks fantastic. But I can see there's still the country look, you know, like you've got plaids and checks and kind of old country Wimborne style chairs. So those sorts of elements are quite strong with the country look. I think they might need changing a little, but actually you could continue to sort of collect. I mean, the thing with mid-century is it's very, very clear look. You know, it's got very, very clear graphic textiles and prints. So looking at your window, it looks like a blind probably suits that box bay a bit better, but maybe get something in a really graphic sort of 50s mid-century print. The wall colour as well is quite a country colour. It's like a sagey colour. You might think of like freshening that up a little bit. And you've got lots of empty walls. And what I do is get some really big framed sort of mid-century modern 50s style graphic artwork and get that in some frames on there. And you'll move that look on quite quickly that way. And then finally, last question is from Joe Forey or Foray. How do I choose a rug for our living room? Is bigger better? Persian rug with floral curtains, question mark. Okay, so I think here it's a good question about rugs, and I always say bigger the better. It can be a real focal point in the room, but you want to make sure your rug's big enough, ideally, that the feet of the sofa can sit on top of the rug. And the same if you've got any armchairs, just the front feet can sit on the rug, and that just kind of helps unite the whole room. It sort of brings the furniture together rather than a rug being small and kind of like bobbing around in the middle of the room like a little island. So definitely bigger the better, and a Persian rug absolutely with floral curtains. You know, I'm always one for saying avoid the matchy, make sure you kind of mix it up, and those two things would go beautifully together as long as the colour scheme kind of ties in together. Make sure that there's a few common colours in there and you'll make sure that coordinates really, really nicely. So that covers my living room design dilemmas. There were some more questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get through all of them, but I will be doing similar Q&As like this on my YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Keep in touch, and I can't wait to give you more of my free advice.